Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope that today you are going to be thoroughly blessed. Something that I'm going to share with you today, I think has the potential to kind of kick off your week exactly how you want to have the week be, which I hope is better than it was last week. And we're just now coming off of Mother's Day. Did you have a good Mother's Day? Did you throw a good Mother's Day for your mother? I gave a message last week about mothers, and if you have not listened to that, I'm telling you right now, you need to go back. You need to go back. As soon as we're done together right here, right now, I want you to just go back 1 week and listen to the last message I gave about mothers. And it was a personal message from me to you as a mother. If you are a mother or if you have a mother, every mother needs to hear this message that I gave. And so today, coming off of, the great Sunday where mothers are celebrated, I want to talk to you whether you're a mom or a dad or neither, you're just, single person. It really doesn't matter. I want to talk to you about being able to leave what should be left behind and in order to embrace the new that I believe is set before you. I'm Dani Johnson. I grew up on welfare, pregnant at 17, homeless at 21, but millionaire by 23. Today, multi-millionaire, mother of 5, married for, a long time, yes, 8 grandkids, and I have the opportunity to work with someone like you. And what we do with our business, DaniJohnson.com, is the proceeds from that business goes to freeing 1,502 sex slaves, little kids, from the sex trade just last year alone. Building 523 homes just last year alone. In fact, total in homes that we've built is over 1,500 homes in the last 3 years for the extreme poor. Not for somebody in this nation. I'm saying the extreme poor. People who live in plastic, who live in cardboard, who live in the city dumps. And that's what they've gathered together to create their home for them and their family. Helping those people get out of that extreme poverty. We also fed over 242,000 orphans and widows last year and brought supplies as well to some of them who needed them, medical supplies. So all the profits from this business, after, of course, the staff gets their share, after the government gets their share, because they do take the share of the profits, even though they call it expenses, they're taking more than their share of our business. And so anyway, so the rest of it is going straight to taking care of the poor. Me as the CEO, I don't take a salary. The salary check is signed over and is given straight to the poor. What do? We do training events. And in our training events, we help you annihilate your debt in 5 to 7 years and show you a path to creating wealth, the same path that my husband and I have been using for the last 2 decades. It works quickly, it works ferociously and fiercely. You will be better than all of your friends. Rather than chasing all of these get-rich-quick schemes that are out there, through all these get-rich-quick gurus that are out there, talking about a solid, simple plan by 2 people who did not go to college, 2 people who had to learn it the hard way through making money and losing it, making it and spending it, making it and ending up with more debt than we wanted to. We show you exactly step by step a simple way on how we paid off of all of our debt. It was actually exciting and it actually was fun and it was invigorating and empowering. At the same time, it reduced our stress immediately as we started doing that plan, as well as how we manage our time, how we have raised our family, how we have worked through some really hard, nasty times as married people, as 2 broken, terrible people who came together. We do this at First Steps to Success, the next one taking place in June 28th, 29th, and 30th, right here in the United States of America, as well as different parts of the world. First Steps to Success is taking place as well. So if you go to the website, DaniJohnson.com, you can see where our live training events are. These are serious boot camps to completely change every area of your life, your marriage, who you are as a parent, your working life, your financial life, your physical life, your spiritual life, changing the entire thing, bam, all at once, to where you have a completely new, transformed life, and people around you are shocked when they see you after you come out of a First Steps to Success training event, again, June 28th, 29th, and 30th. So Today, I want to talk to you about leaving what is behind and embracing what is new. I believe there is something new in front of you, but I also believe that most people will never get the new because they're holding on to things they should not be holding on to. And again, if you didn't listen to last week's message, you need to listen to it because it leads into this message. So the place that I'm going to be talking about from today is in the best success book ever written. This is the book that I have learned more than I've learned from any other book on the planet. I believe that most business books, communication books, marriage, parenting, finance books, even health books all come from this exact source, the greatest success book ever written. And it's not my book, and it's not any book that's on your shelf that you've bought from a human who is alive today, but it's a book that was written by a bunch of dead people. Yep, dead people. I've learned more from dead people than I have from the living by far. I have learned more about how to succeed in every area of my life from dead people than I have from learning from anyone that's here on the planet today. So I want to take you to the place where I recently have learned this. It's Romans chapter 5. Romans chapter 5, verse 1. We're going to go through 1 through 8. All right? And so what is this about? Are there some things that you might be holding on to that is hindering you, stopping you, keeping you in shame, keeping you in guilt, keeping you controlled, keeping you in fear, keeping you stuck, which is like the worst place in the world to be. All right, so let's go ahead and start reading. Romans chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, having been declared right by belief, we have peace with Elohim, which is Hebrew for God, through our Master Yeshua Messiah. This is Jesus, the Messiah. Through whom also we have access by belief. Okay, so we have access by believing. Okay, I'm going to say it again. We have been declared right because we believe, and we have peace with God through the Master Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah, based on what we believe. So if we believe in him, we have peace with God. If we believe in the Master Yeshua, we have made peace with our God. Are you hearing me? Are you in peace with your God? Or are you at war with your God? Are you at peace with him, or are you at war with him? How do you see him? You see, in 1 Kings, we see David who writes this amazing prayer. And in this amazing prayer, he goes to say that to the wrong, you are wrong. But to the honest, to the righteous, you are righteous. You see, depending on our relationship with him is how we perceive him. And he is the greatest source of fulfillment and blessing in your life. But if you see him the way that I saw the man that raised me, who I thought was my father until I was 18 years old, when I found out that I was 17 and a half actually, and pregnant with my first child, that the man that raised me was not my biological father. He was the man that raised me. He was the man I called dad, but he was not my true father. And on that note, now mind you, he was a very abusive man. I was molested by him starting at the age of 13 years old until I was 16 when I moved out. I was tired of being molested, so I got the heck out of the house. No one was doing anything about the fact that I was being molested. It seemed like nobody cared. More importantly, the fact was that my mom did not know what to do. She just did not know what to do. She was in a violently abusive, verbally abusive relationship, mentally abusive relationship, and she, like most abused women, do not know how to get out of that situation. And like most men who abuse their wives, they don't know how to get out of that situation. They don't know how to stop doing it. They don't know what's making them mad. They don't know what's making them frustrated. They don't know why they have all this anger, and they are filled with great guilt, great shame, great torment all day and night. And every time they explode, they're exploding on the one that they love, and they don't know how to get out of it. And that's exactly where the man that raised me, the man that I called dad for 17 years until I met my biological father, who was an amazing man. Anyway, so let's go back here. So therefore, having been declared right by belief. So what is your belief about God? Do you think, like I used to think, that he was a tormentor, that he was a dictator, that everything always had to go his way, that he didn't listen, he didn't have time for me, that he was abusive in every way? That was my relationship with God. That's how I saw God, because that was my earthly relationship with the man I called dad. And so I always saw God through the same judgmental eyes and the hatefulness that I saw the man that raised me. Because the Father really is the one that establishes how we see God. And I didn't know that at the time. And I didn't figure out until my 20s, where I was off in a canoe in a beautiful river. In fact, I think it was Klamath. Yeah, something like that. Up in Washington, actually. Maybe it was Clackamas. Anyway, so I was in a river, in a canoe, and I was sitting there, and I was just laying back in this canoe. It was a quiet summer day, and man, I'm just screaming at God and just saying, "You're a dictator. You're this. You're a jerk. You're controlling. You put terrible fear that just torments people. You're there just looking for whenever we screw up." And then I realized in a moment, He illuminated to my eyes that I was talking about Dan, the man that raised me. I was talking about Dan. And that I had the glasses on called Dan as I'm looking at God the Father. And it hurt and hindered my trust in Him. It hurt and hindered my trust in my future. It hurt and it hindered my belief about who I was, because I saw myself as an abused girl by Dan versus a chosen daughter by my God. And both of those have different way that they speak. Both of those have different ways that they live out. And so let's keep going. So it says, through whom also we have access by belief into this favor in which we stand, and we exalt in the expectation of the esteem of Elohim, the esteem of our God, right? So based on our belief determines whether or not we're going to be esteemed by our God, or whether we're going to be torn down by our God. And it has everything to do with what we believe about Him, what we believe about His actions involved in our business life, in our marriage life, in our lives as parents, in our financial life, and in our health. What our belief is determines what our expectation is of Him and His involvement in it. And this is talking about favor. Belief into this favor, that we have favor in which we stand, knowing that we have the expectation of the esteem, being esteemed by Him and the esteem of Him. Why? Because the esteem of our Father, think about it, the esteem of our Father is passed down to us as His children. As His children. If our Father is esteemed, the children are esteemed. Okay? And not only this, but we also exalt in pressures, knowing that pressure works endurance. Ooh, ow. You see, when our belief is like cracked or crooked or headed in the wrong direction about our God, we miss out on the favor and the esteem of Him in our lives. Now, when you know who you are in Him, okay? When you know who you are in Him, and it was a defining moment that day, friend. It really was. This is a massive defining moment for me. That I'm sitting in that canoe in Washington, and I'm just like, I'm just like letting it rip, even with F-bombs, as I'm screaming out to God, okay? Just like, I don't even care. I'm like, I'm so done with this, right? I saw myself as an abused daughter. I saw myself as unworthy goods, white trash, failure, loser, never will amount to anything, only good to be beaten or molested. Unlovable, unwanted, a nuisance, a burden. That's how I saw myself. But in this moment of going, take the glasses off, girl. What? You're talking about Dan. You're not talking about me. Why don't you get to know me? Like, what? Dang, this was huge. Whoa. Wow. I hadn't at that time spent very much time reading this book to get to know who He was and to see His love, which is what this is talking about. Didn't really see like, whoa, He loves His children. His esteem is passed down to His children. He desires for them to have favor. He desires to open doors for them. He desires to bless them. He desires for them to have the fullness of happiness and joy. And that when here on planet Earth, because guess what? This is where you and I live, friend. We don't live on Mars. We don't live in heaven. And fortunately, we don't live in hell. Hopefully, we never will. Listen to me. And not only this, but we also exult in pressures, knowing that pressure works endurance. So when we are his child and we are walking through this life here on planet Earth, not heaven and not hell, somewhere in the middle, and somebody does something stupid, and the somebody who does something stupid could be you or me. Somebody says something the wrong way. It's taken out of context. This happens to me a lot, especially in my profession. Literally in my profession. There are people who are just waiting on every word to find the one word or the one phrase that will trap me so that they can prove that I am not who they thought I was. Why? They've got judgment in their heart. They've got wounds in their heart. They've got their own perspective. They don't trust anybody. They don't trust anybody. That's how they are with their children. That's how they are with their spouse. That's how they are with their coworkers. That's how they are about the president of the United States. That's how they are about their local congressman. That's how they are about pastors. That's how they are about everybody. They are always looking by bated breath to find a way to trap somebody into saying something. Yep, there it is. I just knew she was a fake. I just knew there was something wasn't real. Why? It's also how they see God. It literally is how they see God, and they don't even know it. They are the cynic. They are the fault finder. They are the idolatrous person who idolizes people until they find that people are not God. And then they're really upset when they find out that a person is human. They're like, you're human. You just jacked up my whole world. It happened with me with the very first business mentor that I met. When I found out that he was sleeping around with a bunch of people and he was coming after me in the same way, I was like, oh my gosh, who are you? You are disgusting. He totally let me down, just like my pastor had let me down, just like my high school sweetheart had let me down, just like the parents let me down, just like my parents let me down. So I had this program of everyone is letting me down continuously. I'm always being let down. Everyone's always going to let me down. So guess what I would always find? People who let me down. That's always based on your beliefs or what are yours. Because here on planet Earth, you live with humans, and so do I. And sometimes I am such a fool. And there have been times in my marriage even where I idolized my poor husband. And I put so much pressure on my poor husband to try to fill every one of my needs, which was a huge leaky boat. Try ship, cruise ship. Empty, leaky cruise ship is all I was. And when he could not fulfill all my needs, I was mad at him and ruthless with my mouth and evil as I tore him down. Why? He was just another person that was going to disappoint me. And I certainly created the environment for him to disappoint me. So when God, took off the glasses that I had on my eyes of whoa, that is what I'm doing. I see Dan. Why don't you try to get to know me, my daughter? Get to know who I am as a father. Well, even look at this. We live on planet Earth, and we're going to go through pressures. We're going to go through hardships. And not only this, but we also exalt pressures, knowing that pressures work endurance. So even when we're going through pressure, we're being exalted by him. Even in our hardships, we're being exalted by him if our eyes are fixed on him. If we're looking at him in the right context, we're looking at him as who he is, as our creator, who created us, who loved us so much he wanted to put us here on planet Earth, that even when he puts us through pressures, and he does put his people through pressures, and if you think that he doesn't, you're not reading the book. There's all kinds of places in here where he puts people through pressures. What about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Did they not go through a furnace that was 1,000 degrees? Yes. Was that pressure? Yes. What happened? They lived. They lived. And the king who saw that they were not scorched, not a hair on their body, on their arm, on their head, on their toe, their big toe, or their pinky toe, was singed. Only the ropes that tied them up in knots were burned off of them, so they came into freedom, and that king bowed down and worshiped the Most High God. And these guys were exalted in that pressure. So what does pressure do? It works endurance. Do you need endurance? Yeah. Do I need endurance? Duh. Hey, we're supposed to live to 120. According to this, we have a chance to live at 120. Not everybody's given the 120-year card. Some people are only given the 50-year card. Some are given the 70-year card. Some are given the 2-month in the womb card. We have no idea what card it is that we have. But here's the bottom line. We're going to go through pressures, and we're going to need endurance. Endurance to what? To succeed. Endurance. And endurance, approvedness, and approvedness, expectation. So what do we get through pressure? If our eyes are fixed in the right place, we get, according to this, we get to be approved. Wait, time out. Through pressure, we get endurance. Like, oh, that's that inner strength, right? That endurance, okay, to run a marathon. That's that endurance to keep going in the marriage, even though you want to quit. It's the endurance with your kids. You got teenagers and toddlers. You're going nuts. You need endurance. You need endurance. When the market is up and everything is great and you were dumb enough to go into debt when the market was great and then bam, the market comes crashing down, which is coming. It's coming. And inside of the next 3 years, that thing's going to crash. It's crashing right now. It's going to keep crashing. It's going to crash. Okay. So how are you during that pressure? Do you have endurance to say, God, I trust you? Woo, I'm looking back. I made some mistakes. I screwed that up. Right? I job hopped when the market was good. I burnt bridges when the market was good. Now I'm in trouble. Okay. So when your eyes are fixed in him, it's like, Father, forgive me for where I screwed up. You get endurance. You get approved. And expectation for a better future. And the expectation does not disappoint because the love of Elohim has been poured out in our hearts by the set-apart Spirit, which was given to us. For when we were still weak, Messiah in due time died for the wicked. Who's the wicked he's talking about? You and me. Not your neighbor who's addicted to porn. Okay? No, you and me. You're like, wait, but what about my neighbor? Who gives a rip about your neighbor? What about you? It's time you got to start looking in the mirror, friend. Stop looking and fault finding and showing everybody else where they're jacked up and start looking to where your jacked upness is so that you can what? Take off those colored glasses of being a victim to your past. Take off those stupid glasses of being a victim to other people and to pain. Stop being a victim to who hurt you, stabbed you in the back, who left you, who abandoned you. Stop being a victim to who stole from you. Step up, rise up, and do something great with your life. Know with the fullness of faith that even in all of your wickedness that you try not to look at, that you try to hide, that you tried to beautify, as I did. Come on, man, I'm a former hoe. Hoe, girl, hoe. Yep, hoe. Broke hoe. Homeless, sleeping around, doing drugs, abusing alcohol, abusing my body. Idiot, loser that I made those losing choices, idiotic choices that I made. That he, while I was wicked, he forgave me. He reached out to me. And he gave me a chance to change my life. That change did not happen overnight, but I will tell you this. I made $250,000 that next year after being homeless, and I made my first $1 million the following year. So in 2 years, I made $1 million by the time I was 23. That's what this is talking about. You're like, Dani, it's talking about making millions? No, it's talking about while I was weak, the Messiah, in due time, he died for me, the wicked. For one shall hardly die for a righteous one, though possibly for a good one, someone would even have the courage to die. But Elohim proves his own love for us, and that while we were still yet wicked, Messiah died for us. That's you and me. That's you and me. So I have a question for you. When are you going to leave your mediocre life behind? When are you going to leave your victim glasses behind? When are you going to stop spinning your wheels? I'm going to give you an opportunity to do it immediately. Friend, 2 weeks from now, there's a group of people whose life is going to drastically change. And God is going to do something inside of that group of people who will be able to see what is set before them. The things that they don't even realize that have been stopping them from being all that they've been called to be. There's a group of people who are going to be gathering who are tired of being frustrated. They're tired of being hardworking and seemingly that they are chasing their own tail. The harder they've worked, the more in debt they've gotten into. The more money they've made, the more debt they've gotten into. The more debt they've gotten into, the more pressure has been piled on top of their chest to the point of chest pains. Their marriages have been what? A big giant facade. Their kids are trying to act right and be perfect and under a crazy amount of pressure, which is why those kids end up doing drugs eventually. Listen. There's a group of people, and you could be joining that group of people. June 28th, 29th, and 30th. Are you ready for your freedom out of being a victim? Your freedom out of the rose-colored glasses that have tainted your worldview? That have cut off a hand of favor and blessing, esteem, endurance, perseverance? That have cut off the hand of financial blessing off of your life? Are you ready to be free? Are you ready to see a whole new life? To see the opportunities inside of your career versus seeing your career as a burden and a dead-end road? To be able to see how to flip your financial situation completely on its head, upside down, and learn these time-tested biblical techniques and strategies, principles that my husband Hans and I have used for 2 decades. Prior to that, we made money and spent it all and we're broke, almost $1 million worth of debt. But these time-tested principles have helped us to accumulate wealth starting in our 30s. Traveling the world together with our kids. Freedom. Isn't that what you desire? Then it's worth every penny that it will cost for you to get through first steps to success. Don't be left behind, friend. I'll see you June 28th, 29th, and June 30th at First Steps to Success. Go to DaniJohnson.com right now. Quit staying stuck. It's time to be catapulted into the calling in which you've been called since you were planted, actually before you were planted in your mother's womb. Click on events at DaniJohnson.com. DaniJohnson.com. Well, Dani, I don't have the money. You're right. And how long do you want to stay not having the money? Go find the money. You know how to find money when it's important. This is the most important decision that you could make ever for your future. Dani, I need to talk to my spouse. Really? What more is there to talk to your spouse about? How broke you are? How broken you are? How boring the marriage is? How average it is? No. There's many purchases you have made without ever talking to your spouse. In fact, if you were to add all the purchases up you've ever made in your entire life without talking to your spouse, how much would that be? Whether the purchase was a candy bar, the purchase was a pair of shoes, the purchase was a lottery ticket, the purchase was a new Bible, the purchase was something new for the kids. Come on, give me a break. It's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do what one of our clients did. You see, she saw all the debt. And she realized there was no way for them to pay it off. She went to First Steps to Success by simply grabbing some money from the grocery bill, got herself registered, borrowed a little bit from there, borrowed a little bit from here. The woman secretly, without her husband knowing, paid off $120,000 worth of debt after coming out of First Step Success. Imagine how he approved those training seminars that she was going to. Don't use your husband or your wife as an excuse for you to continue to stay stuck in the rut that you're in. Oh, we have other plans. Wait a minute, June 28th, 29th, and 30th, we have other plans. Are those plans going to bring you financial security, freedom? Are those plans going to take your marriage to the place that you made vows to? Because you know you're not living them out. Oh, I'm not cheating on my spouse. Yeah, you are. You're cheating with your computer, your iPhone. You're cheating with your time. Your mind wandering about a whole bunch of other things. Your spouse is nowhere near the highest priority in your life anymore, and you know it. Let's face the facts. In fact, go ask him and find out. The other plans? Whatever the plans are, I promise you're not going to have as much fun as you're going to have at First Steps to Success, the 28th through the 30th of June. This is going to be a life-altering experience. And worth the money, even if you have to borrow it. You'll know how to pay it off within days after you attend the event. I don't know if I can get time off of work. Hey, You know how to get time off of work. Give me a break. Work it out. Because what if this is God Almighty saying, I'm trying to exalt you, my child. I'm trying to give you a path that I have given hundreds of thousands of other people before you. You've been asking for a way to pay off your debt. You've been asking for a financial breakthrough. You've been asking for a breakthrough in the marriage. You've been asking for a breakthrough. You've been asking for clarity. And here he has created a place where people get all of those things. All of those things. And so much more than they ever expected. So he's going to give a people there all of those things. The last training event that we did, we sent out surveys to everybody. And guess what? The training seminar, those 3 days, was rated, yes, 5 stars. How can it be that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people can rate 90% of the people gave a 5-star rating? 5 stars. So bottom line, are you ready for the prayers that you've been asking to receive them or not? The choice is yours, friend. The choice is yours. You are the only one standing in the way between you and the calling that is set before you. So move yourself out of the way. Solve the problems that you need to. I will see you in 2 weeks, June 28th through the 30th at First Step Success. Go to DaniJohnson.com right now. Get registered immediately. You are able to save about $200 right now on that ticket if you act now. Or call our office, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. 866-760-8255. They're waiting for you right now. Our phones are ringing right now. They're waiting for you. Pick up the phone, dial that phone number, make your commitment, work out all the details in the next couple of weeks, and I will see you face to face, and I cannot wait to hear what story God is going to create in you. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.